This is going to be one of the biggest years of my life, but I'm here for it. I've prepared the best that I possibly can to put myself in the best position this year. Trust me when I say this. The time is now.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Time Is Now. We're back down with another sit-down video. We are about 9 weeks in by the time you've seen this video, so I think we're about at that point of the prep where we can start addressing how to keep muscle. What's the best way for you to keep your muscle on a deficit? Now, granted, it's a little bit different for me because I'm using anabolics. So for those of you guys who are gonna jump in and say, you're not gonna lose muscle, Josh, you're on anabolics. Yes, you're probably right. I'm not gonna lose muscle. In fact, I may gain muscle just because of the way that I'm training and the way I'm doing things. But please don't forget that for the amount of time that I've body built, more of that has been natural. So I have a lot of experience in natural bodybuilding, and a lot of this is applicable to people who use anabolic steroids as well, because if you're losing muscle and using anabolic steroids, you are seriously fucking up on some of these points, and that's something that we really need to address. So first of all, what's gonna keep your muscle? What built it? What built it in the first place? You know, did that 140 kilo bench press for 7 built it? Yes. So if you go to a cutting phase, do not suddenly switch to higher rep ranges, because what built it will keep it. And in saying that, when we do switch from a muscle building phase to a fat loss phase, there shouldn't be any discrepancy in rep ranges. There shouldn't be cutting volume or bulking volume. At least maybe not in the way that traditional bodybuilding would tell us that we need to up our volume during a deficit, because we have less energy available, less energy to recover, less energy to be able to meet our demands daily. So for us to push more and more and more in a deficit phase is actually a little bit counterintuitive, because you dig into your energy reserves, you dig into your ability to preserve muscle, you dig into that protein reserve that you're eating, and doing too much will be your downfall. So my best advice is to start pretty much where you were in the off season, because in the off season it should be your highest amount of volume, because you've got the most of the energy available, the most ability to recover available. And then potentially as you come into the cut, as you get weaker, as you get smaller, as you get leaner, you could drop off a little bit of volume. So we've established that the more you do isn't necessarily better, but of course you have to do a lot in order to keep that muscle. You should be looking to progress and maintain those lifts that built that muscle. So, you know, for a very long period of time in a cut, you should be feeling better and better as you kind of shave off the excess weight, maybe get more cardiovascularly efficient, maybe you kind of get, you know, healthier. So you actually might have that small improvement for a long period of time. So don't ever think that now that you're cutting, you're going into a phase where you're just going to be weaker from the get-go. That's a mindset game. So actually attacking those sets with a mindset that you're going to keep that damn muscle or progress it. You best believe that if you go into a set with that mindset, you're going to save a lot more muscle than if you just went into it feeling weak and knowing that you weren't going to get there. Now, obviously, we've talked a little bit about our output and how we should be controlling that in terms of training, but also we've got to look at our input. Are you having your adequate protein? You know, that's something that a lot of people sound stupid, because bodybuilding 101 protein, some people don't eat enough protein. Make sure you're eating enough protein. Anywhere between 2 to 3.5 grams per kilogram is usually all right for athletes. Higher on the end, the bigger you are. Lower on the end, the smaller you are. But not only that, but carbohydrates. Carbohydrates equals performance. If you consistently take away carbohydrates, consistently take away that energy that's available in the most readily source in terms of carbohydrates, you pull away your ability to train. You pull away your ability to keep muscle. You pull away all that built it, like we said in the first point. You take away that energy, you rapidly descend and come down quickly. But having said that, while I say keep your carbohydrates as high as you possibly can for energy, for ability to perform, if you gotta go lower, you gotta go lower. So don't get these messages mixed up with, Josh said keep your food up really, really high. Don't use that as an excuse to not get in condition. You have to suck it hard down, but where you can, preserve those carbohydrates for training. Now, potentially you could look into some peri-workout nutrition, which is going to enhance your performance. Maybe it's a pre-workout. We know that caffeine is one of the most well-researched products, along with creatine. Those two things may actually improve your lifts. So those are two little things that you can bring in. Potentially looking at an intra-workout, which we know that can potentially upset that balance in terms of muscle protein breakdown and muscle protein synthesis. It can tilt it a little bit more. I'm not saying it's going to be the big thing that swings it in terms of synthesis, but it could be another little marginal gain that you could take by. And then again, post-workout, talking about these peri-workout nutrition, get your carbohydrates in, replenish, make sure you're recovering straight away and you're spiking that insulin level to try and get that recovery and that insulin shuttling those carbohydrates to those muscles as quickly as possible. Another big factor of destroying your physique on a cut, poor sleep and high stress, high cortisol, poor sleep leads into high stress, and high stress leads into poor sleep, and they are a cyclical thing that you've got to look out for, because the moment you start thinking you're hardcore by not sleeping, the quicker you're gonna lose muscle, the quicker you're gonna lose muscle, and the slower you're gonna lose body fat, because there's a lot of research into good sleep and keeping muscle and burning body fat. So I highly recommend you to think about sleep. I highly recommend you taking some time to actively mitigate your stress. And I think a combination of all those things that I talked about are going to massively increase your chances of retaining muscle. Does it mean that you're going to retain all your muscle if you're natural? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But if you can adhere to those things at the highest rate of training like you were when you're in your off season, you know, eating as on point as you should be with regular protein feedings and all that kind of stuff, micronutrition, hydration, all the things that we talk about in order to improve your recovery and maximize your off season, all the different topics that we've talked about, you need to conglomerate those into one gang and exceed at them the best that you can. So we're out here trying to keep as much muscle as possible, trying to gain as much muscle as possible with the assistance that we've got. So those are a few of my tips. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be back very soon. Peace and love, everybody. Bye-bye.